Mm, This next question, I think, is a pretty uh, gritty and I don't know, might bring up like some icky feelings. Um, but it's also one of my favorite questions to ask because I know some of the exact moments where I felt it, which is one of the most brutal confrontations that any artist goes through is when they encounter someone who's like better at everything they're trying to do. Um, there's always going to be somebody better. And for me, it was my first day in music school. I had come from, being the lead in musicals and, being percussion captain, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I, felt like I was on the top of the world. And then I get to music school and everybody had done the exact same thing that I had done or had done more. Um, and I kept trying to find these qualifications of like, well, at least I'm better at this than them, and this sense of competition kicked into overdrive, um, and I feel like after a certain point, it just sort of eroded my brain enough where I just stopped thinking about it. Um, but do you remember when you realized like the world was much bigger than you thought, and what was your reaction to it?
Um, let's see. I
Or
don't.
are or do you have you ever felt like a sense of competition with
Yeah, yeah.
artists?
I'm trying to think of. I mean, I started out, yeah, as an independent comic artist, so I was always going to small conventions and trading zines,
Mm-hmm.
but especially going to get advice from a lot of the people that I looked up to and give them copies of my book. So I feel like I was very, from very early on, interacting with people who were just on a very, very high level of skill and trying to
Mm-hmm.
just learn from them. And then when I did go to school, when I did go to art school, I had access to so much more of that. I
Mm-hmm.
had a circle of friends who I love and still love very much. And a lot of their work, I was like drawn to them because of the way that their work was really different from mine, and the things that they were able to do. I mean, I
Yeah.
saw Ian's work like when I first went to school. He was working on his thesis film, and I was just like captivated by the
Hmm.
way that his animation moved. And it was so different than what I was inclined to do.
Yeah.
So I did find, I think related to this, when I got a chance to do, well, when I came to work on Adventure Time, some of my like absolute heroes were already working on the show, especially from independent comics, because they brought a lot of independent comics people on. So I was just like, astonished and humbled and watching what they did and learning what they did. And then when it came time to make my own show, I specifically reached out to people who I thought were worlds, leagues better than me, especially
Mm.
at the things that I felt I wasn't great at, because I wanted their help, but I also just wanted to create a platform to
Yes.
show other people what I loved about what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that Adventure Time had done that for me, so I wanted to pay that forward.
Yeah.
So and I know that's not necessarily what other showrunners do. A lot of them, hope to create a final look that is what their work looks like, and then bring people in to support that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make an idea that was flexible enough that everybody involved felt free to do the kind of work that they wanted to do within the project,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I think was true for the music and the art.
Yeah.
And actually, I think this is really relevant, I think, to the new album because when one of the things I was so stuck on with Spiral Bound, and I do agree, I've had the impulse, especially as someone who made independent films and made my own comics, I felt the need to be able to do everything myself, draw,
Yes.
all the characters and backgrounds, do all of the writing, um, choose all of the color. And when I did my own films, I did do that. And I did spend years feeling frustrated and inadequate that I couldn't sit down and create something that looked like what we were able to achieve as a team of 30
Yes.
to 60 people. And it's like, yeah, that's not, it's a completely different thing to do. Um, and, a lot of times, even during the show, people would, be very complimentary about the artwork and how it looked. And, I felt like worried because like I couldn't necessarily sit down and do a piece that looked like it looked when it was inked by Danny Hines and when it
Mm,
was colored by Charles Hilton and when it, you got this final result. But I could draw like I drew, which was its own thing that had a home just like everybody else did inside of the show. So when it came time to do Spiral Bound, I was very stuck because I was like, I don't know if I could say what my sound
yeah.
is. I know how I approach writing a demo, and I didn't really want to release things that sounded like demos. I wanted to release something that was final. And that was a conversation I was having with Jeff of
Hmm.
just like, I know, that my original training was really in folk music. And I was like, I know I want this to sound a little more like folk. And then he really had the production mindset of how to frame and polish and finish what I was doing without losing any of the intimacy that he
Yeah.
saw in the work that came only from me. So I think what I realized making Lonely Magic was, especially after making Spiral Bound, was that was great and it was challenging and I feel like I figured it out. But I don't actually want to work that way. I want to
Yes.
work with other people who are doing the things that they do, and be inspired by the things that they're doing and learning from that. And so that's really what Lonely Magic sounds like. It sounds like Jeff and it sounds like Stemage and it sounds like Ivy
Yeah.
and Steven when they're joining me. And then the art I did for the album is the same way. I teamed up with Alex Myung and Charles Hilton to do all of the artwork, and we basically just did, we did what we would do for the show.
Yes.
We created turns and designs. I teamed up with several animation studios to make animated music videos, and did the I did the boards. I did the stuff I do. I did boards. I cut the animatics, but I went back and forth on how the movement should be, and yeah, I was just
Hmm.
back in my element doing what I learned to do with the team. And my favorite thing about that is working with people who are better than me
Yes.
at things that they do. And
Yes.
I had to remind myself that I can still do that, you know, for a project that's not a giant,
Yeah.
commercial company owned. Like I just, the studio work is very important though. And
Hmm.
it's something I'm always trying to do. I can't create something on that scale
Yeah.
on my own. I'm just feeling out and trying to find the scale that I could create on my own.
Hmm.
And that was its own limitation starting out. How do I tell a story and how do I make the work that I make,
Right.
knowing that it has to be on a smaller scale really efficiently, or it really indulgently in the parts where it can be,
Hmm.
um, picking and
Yeah.
choosing in that way.
I think like it's always a great reminder when you've really tried to do everything yourself. And I think this goes back to like me having the sense of competition with people in music school to then actually finding a community of people who were all, I believe, were immensely more talented than I. And instead of feeling a sense of competition, being like, how do I make a project so I can work with them, um,
Yes.
and um, like I think that just makes it so much better of an experience overall. Like I have this internal drive to want to do and be able to do everything, but I think there is an even greater joy once you open yourself up to it with working with so many amazingly talented people who can make what you want to do, you know, 50 times better because they are extremely proficient at whatever you want to do, and you're maybe just a little proficient at it. And plus, I don't know, people is what life is all about. Even if, I had this conversation the other day where, people bother me sometimes, but I also believe that our relationships with other people are like the point of living. And so if we can make things with other people, that is fulfilling our life's purpose. And it sounds like you've brought in a ton of amazing people to work on this new album. My question is, did you bring back the Omnichord for this new album as well?
I don't, I'm actually not sure if it appears on these tracks. It's a really different approach.
Wow.
Um, I I think we experimented with that, but I think ultimately our philosophy was to create a small chamber orchestra, like a Broadway orchestra,
Yeah.
that's performing a lot of these songs. Um, and so we almost approached the production from a character driven standpoint too. We wanted it to feel big but also small, and so that's where we landed, um, sort of philosophically.
Yeah.
That it's a tiny dedicated orchestra that's that's
Yes.
playing these songs, even though that they're all it's all session and um,
Hmm.
but that is honestly what's happening is because Jeff Ball is playing live strings. Um, Mason joined us on cello,
Oh,
um,
awesome.
and bass for a few songs. Um, so yeah, so
So,
it's a very different sound, and in ways it's more connected to the Steven Universe sound because of
yeah.
Stemage and Ivy and Steven. I that the fact that Stemage had been the Mr. Universe guitar, which to me has such a particular way of sounding and stretched my limits of my imagination as I was trying to come up with music that would ultimately reach him and reach Ivy and
Yeah.
Steven. Working towards that and thinking about that, and that was just that was wonderful. But approaching it from a completely different
Yeah.
angle.
Well, it sounds like because I think your Spiral Bound is very intimate, but it's also very lush, and it's in its own way, in this intimate, closed way. And so it sounds like you're going for a lush sound, but on a bigger stage, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes,
Um,
it's bigger.
yes.
Um, Jeff had also Jeff, Ivy, and Steven had all worked with me incredibly hard on the Steven Universe movies. That had been a
Hmm.
full musical, and Jeff had done these really elaborate, um, like the orchestral opening song. Ivy and Steven had written these really, really challenging harmonies for me to sing
Yeah.
also, for each of the diamond parts when we laid the demo down. Um, so it was returning to a bit of that headspace,
Yeah.
um, making something a little more ornate. I wanted to
Yeah.
feel sophisticated and magical um, and immersive. It's so yeah, it's quite a different goal,
Yeah.
and I hope that I really can't wait for people to hear these songs. We worked very hard on them for 2 years,
Hmm.
and I'm very proud of what we were able to accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I think um, like even getting the chance to dedicate yourself to any project for 2 years or any amount of time, and then seeing where you're at as an artist afterwards, and even if you have moments of I probably would have done this differently now that I know this. Um, like, do you feel as though you've grown as a musician and as an artist after this whole experience? It sounds like you've made it. It's been a challenging experience in a good way, like in a positive, um, puzzle type experience.
Yeah, it was a puzzle. Yeah, I feel I've grown a huge amount as a person too, from doing this, and really realized what I want to do. That I want to be collaborating as much as I can, but also
Yeah.
I want to be able to communicate not just with the people that I'm collaborating with, but also with the people that are going to hear the songs. I think the exercise, it's not really an exercise, but the experience of writing the commencement speech
Yeah.
was really transformative. And that was really the next step after doing Hill to Die On, which was so much for Toby and um, uh, trying to capture the experience that we had both had.
Hmm.
After I wrote the commencement speech, what I realized is, oh, I really want to speak to the people that are hearing this. Like, I really
Yeah.
want to communicate to an audience. The Spiral Bound songs were so much for me, But these, I want to reach out and I want to talk to the people that are somewhere along this journey, and tell them that it's all right to be enjoying the
Yes.
work, and that it's also all right if it's miserable and feels
Mm.
horrible, uh, because so much of the time it did. But then there's also these, through the highs and lows, you learn so much
Hmm.
and you connect with people through the art you make, and whether you're making it together or whether someone's receiving it. There's just so much that I'd like to say about that, and I don't really know a better way to say it
Right.
than work.
Yeah, and I think something that people, especially those who aren't either like committed artists or don't, you know, endeavor to do any types of art, I think there is no feeling like it on the planet or in the human experience than working with someone else who gets it and is
Hmm.
in something with you. And there's this electricity you feel when you can look at them or see whatever they're typing, and you know that they are on the same level as you, and we're endeavoring we endeavor to make a package together of some kind. Um, and I think that happens in live music too. Like my brother and we've been playing music together. He's a drummer. We've been playing music together for 15 plus years, maybe I mean our whole lives, but professionally, like we toured in a band together. Um, and I played music with him for the first time in over a year, a couple weeks ago, and I forgot how amazing it feels to just work with, you know, play with someone and have that type of connection. Okay, with time for just one last question, I think this flows nicely, like with all of the highs and lows and how like horrible and gut wrenching the artistic process is, and how rewarding and you know how much you grow as you do it. Um, you have said that Whisper of the Heart is one of your favorite movies. It's one of my. I only saw it within the last year, and it quickly became one of my favorite movies.
Oh yeah.
And like, there's this moment where Shizuku and Seiji are jamming on country roads in the violin workshop, and then a bunch of the old folks come in and start playing, and that I cried when that
Oh yeah.
happened, because it is, I think, the perfect. It captures what it feels like to play music with other people so well, or just to make anything. But what do you think about it, other than that scene that like resonates so deeply with people who do art?
Well, I think for me, the scene that scene, I love that sequence, but also when Shizuku is sitting outside while her story is being read and just waiting. Oh my gosh,
Uh
like
huh.
I've just been that. I've had that experience so many times, as a kid, um, and as an adult. Just that the way that that feels is so specific.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I I had the chance to to do an intro for this when G Kids was releasing it, um, so I may repeat myself from that. But
Okay.
I think the thing, yes, and I've given it quite some thought. The thing about that film, is that it's about craft, like it's about process, and it's about honing your craft, which I think is so interesting. Like you don't usually see. You can sometimes there are stories about art and artists, but that one is specifically about craft. Even Kiki's Delivery Service is so much
Mm-hmm.
about like inspiration and block. But the joy of the actual craft is so much what is on display in Whisper of the
Yes.
Heart. And then what's fascinating to me about it is that the craftsmanship of the movie itself is so unbelievable, just on such another level. Yoshifumi Kondo's work is just
Mm-hmm.
so complex and rich, and and obviously like Miyazaki's boards. I mean, just everyone involved, their craftsmanship is on such a high level, and then within the film, there's characters getting inspiration from the things they're seeing with that loving, careful, meticulous craftsmanship. Like you're seeing the characters experience that, but then you're experiencing that because you're watching the movie, and that's what the
Yeah.
movie is.
Yes.
So that's what really gets me about it is that it really is what it's about. And the
Yes.
experience of watching it is the experience the characters are having inside of it, of
Yes.
being inspired, wanting to make work, and wanting to do their best work, and striving to be what the artists who made the film became and did when they made the film. It's just, there's not
Yeah.
really another movie quite like that.
There isn't. I um, yeah, it hit me so hard because I feel like I haven't watched a lot of movies about what it is to be an artist, but like in a joyful way. I think a lot of our what you know pop culture will tell you is that being an artist is hard and upsetting and depressing and sad, but it is like there's a reason why we do it, and it's because it is the ultimate joy. And there's nothing else like it. I recently, have you ever seen the movie Swing Girls? Um, it's about this group of high school girls who accidentally poison the pep band for the baseball team, and so they have to fill in on their instruments, and then they have no interest in playing these instruments, but then they realize that they all love music. And so it's this whole film about these people learning that they love art. Um, and yeah, I really wish there was even more media about what it's like to make something and enjoy it and love it, even though it's grueling and intense. Um, well,
That's all.
I mean, we could probably talk about this for hours and hours, but we are out of time. So your album, Lonely Magic, comes out August 29th. And where will we be able to find it?
It'll be available on all streaming platforms. There will be an animated music video coming out with the album that we have worked tirelessly on, called Ice Water. The song is called Ice Water, and it's the video for Ice Water. The single for Hill to Die On is out, and the live action music video is also out. That's available on my YouTube, which is Rebecca_Sugar on YouTube. And then the animated music video, and there'll actually be multiple animated music videos, are going to
Exciting.
be appearing uh, on my YouTube right now, or when the album comes out, and then also over the next couple months.
Fantastic. And do you have any like physical releases planned for it?
Yes, I'm doing a vinyl with I Am 8-Bit. They did a spiral bound vinyl as well. This one's going to be black with silver foil, very different
Ooh.
treatment than the stamp,
Exciting.
journal one for spiral bound. So um, I love working with them because their attention to detail is just really high, and um, they do awesome work. So yes, there will be a physical release, and there's an opening night show at Gallery Nucleus, and I'm actually gonna have I've never done shirts before, so I have a shirt. There'll be a zine and a poster.
No
That's my
way.
wheelhouse.
All
I'm
right.
gonna have my first shirts. I'll try to figure out if there's a way to make that stuff more widely available. I'm just not sure how to do it yet. So
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it, and this was an amazing conversation. Um, and now we
thank
will
you for
go back.
having me.
Yes, and now we will go back to the show.